So I thought I'd make a bit of a YouTube video, just sort of figuring out it's going to be a good way to keep in touch with my friends or keep my friends up to date, some of whom might be interested in what I'm up to. I've got some good friends in Australia and a few friends that are living away from, well, quite away from where I am in the UK, but still. And so yeah, I just thought I'd do it just for a bit of a laugh. So there's a few things going on, and it's been going on for 2 years now because it's taken a year and a half to get planning permission through. But basically 2 years ago I bought the house, and I bought it on the basis that it's got a massive garden, relatively speaking anyway, and a big drive, so I can get plenty of cars. I've got plenty of space for extension, and I've got plenty of options to really make the place the way I need it to be for myself. And so that's where we're at. So after 3 attempts and a failed appeal, I managed to get planning permission for a 2-storey side extension and a single-storey rear extension, a large double, well, it's like a 3-size really garage, and then I actually omitted my workshop from my final planning, and that's just going to be done by permitted development. So I've got a lot going on. So I posted a little video today just for the hell of it, just as a bit of a practice, and a go with a new GoPro that I've bought. No product placement, no product, obviously, advertising. So the side extension, originally there was a garage on the side, and that's now been demolished, and I finished clearing the site there today. And that's going to be a 2-storey extension, bedroom, ensuite upstairs, and downstairs will be space that I haven't really allocated, although my current thinking is that that would make quite a good place to have a bar, but also somewhere to keep my motorbikes. So I've got 1 or 2 of those. And then at the rear of the house, I've got a full width single extension going up. And that's going to be like the main lounge and social area. The room that I'm in now is currently the lounge, but this is going to be like this, well, it is a cinema room and snug lounge. And this is going to pretty much stay the same, just to somewhere to hold like a bolt hole. It's been well soundproofed. It's been added with lots of various sound absorption things so that my stereo can work. There's no echo, and the sound quality in the room is absolutely brilliant, actually. So the rear extension is just going to be a big open space. It's going to be like a living dining space with French doors out into the garden. The kitchen we've finished pretty much, apart from having to do the cut through and the extensions is done, and that's staying as it is. The kitchen is actually where the lounge was, and where we are now in the lounge, that's what used to be the kitchen. So the kitchen's a bigger space than it was. This is smaller than the lounge was, but it's going to serve the purpose as a bit of a snug and a bolt hole really out of the way. And it's my space really. I've got my pictures on the wall and blackout blinds and big telly set into the wall. And yes, it's worked out really nicely. So externally, we've got the extensions going up, but I have to sort out the back garden first. So at the back of the garden, I've got 2 containers currently, and they're going to go to the back of the garden, one after the other, left end to end, to create a workshop. And that's the workshop where I'll do the work on the motorbikes. It's also where I'm going to put my powder coating setup. I've been doing powder coating for about 3 or 4 years now. I've got a big oven and, well, sufficient to do car subframes, motorbike frames, car wheels, that kind of thing. So that's going to go into one end of the container. The next part of the first container will be where I'll do engine builds and such as that. And then the other end will be where the motorbikes will be for the workshop and all my tools and sort of storage of the bits and pieces and all of that. So that'll be across the back of the garden, with a bit of a veranda thing on it as well, and also a carport, somewhere to park the Aston. And then in front of that, there's going to be this big double garage, quite a tall thing. It's going to allow me to get full height on a 2-post lift, I've got quite a lot of work that I need to do on the vehicles that I've got. So that's a garage that will be big enough to have a project in there, as well as having clear access to the ramp. So then project-wise, there's a few things, but I've got a Mark II Escort that I've had for quite a few years now. That needs to go inside, and the welding's about 3/4 done. So it needs a shell clean up, strip back, probably get a laser cleaner for that. And then there's a bit of welding to finish off on the back, on the around the wheel arches. Not where it's rotted through, but where it's been really battered from forest stones and such like. Part of the front wheel arch, passenger footwell actually, is battered to hell with stones. That needs to have a piece replaced, and then around the arches on the back. And then that car can start to be prepared for painting and then start to be built up. So that's a Mark II Escort that's going to be running a Focus 170 engine, but I'm going to have it on throttle bodies. I've seen a set of look like DCOEs throttle bodies, so it'd be like twin 45s but with injection, and hopefully it should be able to put out 170, 180 brake with no real problem. Back in the day we were lucky to get 120 out of a Pinto, and that was some going and not that reliable for a lot of the time. So that should be fun. And then I've got my Aston, which has got a bit of a final drive problem, so that'll be in there mainly on the ramp. I've got to get the gearbox out, rebuild the final drive, change the bearings. There's a lot of backlash on the final drive, and the bearings now are starting to groan, so yeah, it needs to be done. I've had the car actually for 8 years now, and in the last 2 years it's really been sort of groaning quite a lot. I've probably done about 2,000 miles on it with that sound, and it's not got worse, but it is time to sort it out. And then I've got another thing which worthless really. It's a Mercedes 2002 C180, but it was one owner from new, immaculate interior, beautiful engine, runs lovely, full history, but it just needs a bit of love and care on the body shell. A couple of bits of welding underneath, and the front wing either welding or replacing. But that's just a thing that I just like to sort of coast around in it really. It's just smooth and quiet, and yeah, it's quite a nice little car. But like I say, it's worthless, but you know, it's one of those. It's a shame to throw things away when there's nothing wrong with them. So that's that. And then the motorbikes, that's the biggie. I've been into motorbikes all my life, since 1981 when I passed my bike test. 1981, God, that's a long time ago, when I passed my bike test. And what I've got now really is the bikes that I've had in the past and sold and regretted, I've bought again. So, you know, midlife crisis, yeah, maybe, but who cares? I don't care. So I've got a VFR 750G, so 750FG, which is a 1986. I actually had one of those in 1991 and sold it, wished I hadn't. So I've bought another one of those, one owner, low mileage, almost immaculate condition, just needs to be recommissioned. I've got a VFR 750RF RC24 again, a slightly newer model. It's got the different frame. It's got an aluminium rear subframe rather than the steel rear subframe, and that's an 89 model. Got the VFR 750 RC 24 later model. RC36, which is still on carbs, but it's the RC36, slightly more modern bike. Looks a bit like the NC 750, I suppose, something along those lines. Well, people would argue that, but they've tried to pick up some of the features. And then I've got a VFR 750 RC46 VTEC. That's been my everyday bike for the last year or so. Just needs a bit of a service and a new battery because it's been standing around. Got a GPZ 600R. Well, I bought one of those brand new in 1985. Absolutely loved the bike. Didn't keep it for as long as I thought I would. I sold it, I think, after about a year and a half and wished I hadn't. So I bought another one of those. It spins over on the starter, but it doesn't start. It needs the carbs rebuilding. Basically, it's been parked up with fuel in the carbs. It needs a carb rebuild, which is standard for these things. Bit of powder coating and a bit of love and attention. That bike will be back on the road in no time at all. Then we've got the Ducati 748. That was always my favourite bike. Just such a beautiful thing. And one of my customers back in the day when I was a Snap-on dealer, he had a 748 in yellow, 748S. It's just a beautiful bike, and I always wanted one. And I bought one about 5 years ago with an MOT. I rode it for that year, parked it up because I had a few other things to play with, and I haven't MOT'd it or ridden it since, so that needs to be again recommissioned. It's on fuel injection, so usually when I put a new battery on it, it'll start straight away, and I'm good to go. I'm a bit nervous now about the fuels that we have currently, and I reckon that it'll probably need a good flush through, to be honest, because current fuel's rubbish. Then my most recent purchase, Pan-European. I want something to go around Europe. The plan is to sort of go down to Spain or somewhere like that and just do a sunny climate sort of ride around. And the Pan, I just didn't want all the complexity of a modern bike. I didn't want ABS. I didn't want fuel injection, all that malarkey. So I've gone for an ST1100. It's a 2000 ST1100. Was running beautifully just before Christmas when it was put into the container. So I fully expect with the new battery that's just going to start straight away and I can get it MOT'd. So I don't really see that being too much of a problem. Then I've got another little project which I've had now for about 5 years. MV Agusta TR125. That was getting on quite well, really. I've done all the powder coating and got it all ready to rebuild. And the engine at the time, when I first got the bike, I could kick it over. There was compression there, but I didn't have it running because the wiring harness had been chewed by mice. It had been sitting in a barn in Italy for about 10 years, and yeah, it wasn't going to go. But the compression was there, which is great. When I finished doing all the powder coating and I put the engine back in, I hadn't rebuilt it. I just thought I'll put it back in and see how things go. And it's seized. There's no, I can't turn it over at all. And also we've got the bearing that goes from the gearbox through. I think it goes through. I can't remember. It's final part of the gearbox anyway. And there's masses of play in a bearing there, and it's on ball bearing races. So I think that's going to be a full rebuild, although I'm going to try and find an engine to replace on that. And then finally, actually this is the latest bike I bought, I forgot about this, a Honda CB350 race bike. It's a 1968 CB350 twin, and I actually saw it being ridden on parade laps at Castle Combe at the end of the season last year. It sounded lovely, it looked really nice, and I was wandering around the pits after the races had finished, and this bike was there with a for sale sticker on it. And anyway, long story short, I bought the bike and its trailer and all the bits that went with it, and so I've now got this 350 race bike. It does start. It started when I collected it, and I haven't tried to start it since. I've just drained the carbs down and put it away in the container, but it's really high compression. It revs to about 11,000 revs, does about 110 mile an hour, which is mad for a 350, and it's on megaphone exhaust, so it's really loud. And I've sort of decided not to start it up with the neighbours around when I first bought it, but of course now I just need to get my workshop sorted out and we can get on with that. But that's a bike that potentially I might just drain the fluids for the time being, and it can go in the lounge. Not this lounge, but the other lounge when it's built. But ultimately I'd like to go to the Isle of Man and just do a parade lap with it, just to say I have, really, because I've got a picture of the bike being ridden by, do you know what, I can't even remember his name now. I've got a picture of it going over Balloch Bridge in the Isle of Man, and it just sounds and looks amazing. And seeing it in that picture just makes me want to do the same and maybe have a picture of myself going over that bridge. And after all of that stuff, I've forgotten the main bike. Well, no, I've forgotten my favourite bike, RC30. I've got an ex-Honda Britain RC30, which is probably getting on for halfway through being restored. I'm up to the stage now where I need to get the engine rebuilt, and I was getting up to the point of being able to do that. In fact, I started stripping it, and then we moved house. So I haven't had a workshop since. So that in the engine build shop, that'll be the first engine that goes onto the workbench. In the powder coating shop, the first bike that goes into that will be the Ducati. And in the garage, I can get the Escort and the Aston Martin in there. I think the Aston will be the first project, so that I can get the gearbox sorted out and I can just go out and have a good thrash without worrying about it failing, because I have been taking it easy, obviously, since the gearbox noise has been going on. So there, in a nutshell, I mean, I don't think that was very much. What is that, 15 minutes or something? Just a quick sort of précis of where we're at. And this room I'm in now, it's great. When I finish doing this video, when I've got that Highway to Hell poster there, because AC/DC are one of my favourite bands. Pictures behind there, I've got Lando Norris. I'm really quite into McLarens. I think Lando's a great guy, great driver. I do hope he does well this season. Obviously, the obligatory whiskey collection in the cabinet behind. And then you can't see it, but above Lando is a picture of John McGuinness, who was just a remarkable rider, absolutely remarkable rider. Dedicated to Honda, of course, and that's no bad thing. And in front of me, above the screens, I'm looking at a picture of Foggy. So it's Carl Fogarty racing a Ducati 916, and that's a watercolour painting that I bought at an auction. Not worth a lot of money, 50 quid, it's nothing, but on the wall it looks good. And it's a red Ducati, it matches the walls, I guess. What else? I guess that's about it, really. Just a little bit about my space, to be fair. And yeah, I hope at least one person enjoys this video, finds it interesting, and hopefully I'll do one or two more as I progress on the various projects on the house. And then eventually I'll record some videos of me rebuilding the engine on the RC30 and getting the gearbox out of the Aston and all of that nonsense. So yeah, okay, there we are. Well, thumbs up if you thought this was anything even slightly remotely interesting, and I'll speak to you all soon.